Питание, что-нибудь на питание, знаете? К сожалению, бедание, кого беданию, не переживайте так серьезно. Смотри, женщинам удобно, и можно забеременеть. Можно легче относиться к родине, к родственникам, к родине, да, к родине, да. Как обычно, да. Марлевой. Я понял, что да. Ну да. Да. Ну вот рабы потребляют, понимаешь? Типа, да, я понял вот это. Да. Даже так вот, это немножко по-бабски получается, но все равно по-женски отдаться людям вот так вот чисто. Да, понимаете. Сами ну ладно, ну не надо тогда. Мемуар свой запиши тогда. Да, как хочешь. Ну, даже здесь должна быть определенная тоже это самое, да, понимаешь. Да. Ладно. Да. Лафит. Да. Графит. Ну наоборот, значит, не надо играть, допустим. Ну да. Ну вот это есть, ну да, это есть. Не подал. К общему знаменателю не выдало. Блин, так это давно было. Чем мне показываешь?
start things off, we're first going to have to talk about what hydrazine sulfate is and why we're even making it. Hydrazine sulfate is the salt version of hydrazine, and on the left we can see the free base hydrazine, and on the right we can see what the hydrazine sulfate looks like. There is a reason why we're making hydrazine sulfate and not the pure form, and this is because pure hydrazine is actually explosive, volatile, and pretty toxic. Hydrazine sulfate, on the other hand, is a powder instead of a liquid, so it doesn't have the volatility issue. It's also not explosive, and it's not nearly as toxic. All of these factors together make it much safer to work with, especially if it's going to be something that's done at home. Hydrazine sulfate is capable of doing all of the same reactions as free-base hydrazine. The hydrazine sulfate is added to a reaction, and the free base is liberated in the reaction itself. Like I said before, this technique allows us to avoid handling pure hydrazine. So now on to the question of why we're even making this to begin with. Why do we need any form of hydrazine? This molecule is pretty unique, and as you can see, it's pretty much just NH2 linked to another NH2. In chemistry, this opens up the ability for a lot of different cool reactions, and it's actually the precursor for a lot of pharmaceuticals. I'm definitely going to use it in a variety of different reactions in the future, but my main purpose of making it was as a precursor to luminol. Making luminol is several steps, and the step that this is used in is the reaction with 3-nitrophthalic acid. I actually made the 3-nitrophthalic acid in a previous video if you're interested in checking that out. Anyway, the 3-nitrophthalic acid reacts with the hydrazine to form 3-nitrophthalhydrazide. This intermediate is then one step away from the final luminol product, and all that needs to be done is the NO2 group has to be reduced to an NH2. I do both of these steps in one video, and that should be released in a couple of weeks. So now that we know a little bit of why I'm making the hydrazine and what the hydrazine is, we can get started with the synthesis. These are all of the ingredients needed to make hydrazine, except I forgot the sulfuric acid. So just like in another one of my videos, let's just pretend that the sulfuric acid is there. The procedure that I used was adapted from chem players, and it's pretty much the same. What I used was 500 milliliters of what was assumed to be around 5% hyperchlorite, 32 grams of sodium hydroxide, 0.75 grams of gelatin, 22 grams
I'm just hitting air, and the flames grow hotter.
виды.
Rest, my love. May your soul know peace at last. King of kings, the grace of the gods is with you always.
I think my impression was I didn't know what I was getting into, so I had a mixed feelings of what was ahead, the light ahead, and not having mixed with this type of beam kind of coverage, I wasn't 100% sure it was going to come out. But actually, it actually came together quicker and faster than I expected. There was
Whenever you're watching one of these worth playing 2021 critiques, or whatever year it applies to, you're looking to answer one of the following two questions. Is it worth playing for the first time, or is it worth revisiting after some years? This obviously depends on the age of the game, as some games just aren't old enough to be replayed or rather critiqued based on that age just yet. When I decided to make a comeback to making these critiques, and with a better standard as well, I thought about what would be the perfect game to make that return with and make a statement video about. Not only what I needed to be a great topic, but I also needed to get views because my channel depends on it. It's that YouTube life. I've had many requests for 13.2 after the original 13 critique blew up, which would have made a lot of sense, plus I really want to play that game, but I guess it could always be next, or, you know, we still got time. I also could have went...
Наоборот. А. Наоборот, понял, что да нет, понял, ну вот наоборот. Да, это есть она самая, ждет тебя, она просто, да. Да, ну да, типа того. Ну да, это есть, ну да. Ну наоборот, не знаю. Да, наоборот. Наоборот, это есть, ну. Хорошо? Высоко.
On n'est pas mieux cadeau de chaud au bord. On n'est pas mieux cadeau de chaud au bord. On n'est pas mieux cadeau de chaud au bord. On n'est pas mieux cadeau de chaud au bord. On n'est pas mieux cadeau de chaud. On n'est pas mieux cadeau de chaud.
90% людей говорят, что цифровая иллюстрация не для них, потому что нет планшета. Теперь графический планшет может стать твоим. И да, это не один...
This is one of the only shops in the world that still measures every head before selling a hat. Lock & Co workers have been designing and selling high-quality hats for nearly 350 years, making it the oldest hat shop in the world. It's outfitted British royalty and invented iconic headwear, like Charlie Chaplin's bowler. The shop has survived industrialization and 2 world wars, but the COVID-19 pandemic was the first time it had to close its doors. We went to the heart of London to see how this legendary boutique is still standing. Master Hatter Jay Vagala greets every client as they walk in. Most hat stores don't do custom shaping and sizing, but at Lock & Co, customers don't get off-the-rack treatment.
Spot on 61.
Then Jay brings them to the custom fitting device called a conformator. This one is 150 years old and still in use at Lock every day. Jay inserts a piece of paper into the conformator and locks the top part in place. It punches dots in the paper that outline the exact head shape. Jay uses the paper to calibrate the other sizing tool, the formilion. He adjusts each of the wooden keys to match the cutout. Then he puts this inside the hat. With light steam and a brush, Jay adjusts the hat until it's soft and takes on the perfect shape. He removes the vermilion and gives the client a final fitting of their customized hat. 2 floors up, head designer Owan Golding handcrafts control pieces for Lock's women's collection. Owan chooses her materials, mixing and matching textures and colors. Next, she chooses a wooden hat block. Lock & Co has a large collection that includes vintage ones. Owan softens the fabric over the block using water and steam. She stretches and pulls it, allowing the material to take shape before pinning it in place.
So you're using a lot of heat and pressure to block. And this is the same process in hat blocking with any material you use. And this is the way that hat making has been done forever.
In fact, mass-produced hats are made with the same principles in mind, but with hydraulic machines instead of by hand. Owan makes sure there are no wrinkles in the first layer before she repeats the process, this time with French canvas. She leaves it for a day to harden and hold its shape on the block. She polishes the dry base with an iron.
That's quite important when you're using fabric on the outside because any wrinkle will show up.
And carefully removes all the tacks to free it from the wooden block. To make sure that the hat keeps its shape, she sews wire into the brim.
Each hat is a piece of art in itself. We are not really constrained by function in hat making. You really are creating something that is spectacular. It doesn't really have to kind of keep you warm. It doesn't have to clothe your back.
Then it's time to decorate it. For this piece in the winter collection, she opts for a dark blue satin and a white flower.
Hats can be anything. They can be kind of as large and as crazy as you want, or as small and demure and subtle as well. So I think you really cover every emotion, really, with a hat.
Going to Lock & Co feels like stepping into a different
Ну, про себя так и думает тоже, да, что... Ну, наверное, нет, понимаешь, ну да. Смотри, у тебя перестало продаваться, например. А почему перестало продаваться? Потому что ты не уважаешь этот мир, и этот мир, да, понимает. Смысл ради чего ты, да, долгий разговор, да, то есть. Ну не надо, не смысл, просто тебя не продается и все, да.